back, friends, to the Way of Wonder. I am Bill Donahue from the Theology of the Body Institute, and I'm here with Father Patrick Schultz from the great state of Ohio. And we are going to saunter through beauty on this fine day. Do you know where the etymology of saunter is, Father Patrick? To saunter? You know the backstory?
No idea.
I just learned this yesterday.
Nope.
People on pilgrimage to the Holy Land back in the day would be passing through towns, and they would be identified as the Santa Terra-ers, like the Holy Landers, saunterers. So if you were on pilgrimage, you were a saunterer. Isn't that cool? So we're not.
That's really cool.
Doesn't that change everything? Because when I heard the word saunter, I thought it meant sort of like, you know, just kind of leisurely stroll, kind of. But to saunter is to be on pilgrimage to the Holy Land. Like that?
Woo!
So, friends, we are sauntering through the Holy Land, which is the created world all around us, and the great works of man and woman in art and poetry and everything else. So welcome. Thanks for joining us. We are ready to go today, and I'm going to do something unprecedented on the Way of Wonder. I'm going to do a 2-for-1 special today, Father Patrick.
Dang, all right.
Are you ready? I got a painting and a poem. So P squared, P to the second power, painting and poem.
Wow.
Yes. And of course they go together. I stumbled on the poem before we bring stuff up. I stumbled on this poem from Malcolm Guite, a mutual unmet friend of ours from England. He's an Anglican priest, a poet himself. And he shared this poem from Luci Shaw called Kenosis. So I'm going to share that poem with the painting. It's really kind of staggering. And we're in ordinary time in the church's calendar. And this is kind of an ordinary poem, but it is extraordinary at the same time. So are you ready to saunter in?
Say that again. Extraordinary.
Extraordinary. Extraordinary. Here is our glorious painting, if you can see it. Kind of an ordinary scene.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
But when you realize who the figures are, it is extraordinary. This is called The Holy Family by Willy Martens, Dutch painter from the turn of the 20th century. Willy Martens, he was born in Indonesia, actually, but then became a landscaper, animal painter studied in Paris, and created this gorgeous work, The Holy Family, which I literally just stumbled on the other day. I find it to be kind of arresting. You know, you've got Joseph's strong back working at the table there, and the Blessed Mother close at hand. There he is. He's got he's the youthful, strong Saint Joseph. And then you've got the Blessed Mother nursing the infant Christ. Just intimate little home scene, an ordinary event that's just supercharged with extraordinary stuff. So just thoughts on the painting as you look at it, Father Pat, first before the poem.
My eye just keeps bouncing between like Mary's, like the brightness of Mary and Joseph's back, that highlight of Joseph's back. I'm just kind of bouncing between those two. Maybe it's more of like a circle going around, but man, I love that pop of red on her lap, her dress, and just Joseph just like disappears into the earthy browns, like he's just not even there. It's like she's the main show, and he's like, I'm happy to just be the man of the backdrop, just to disappear into the background. Yeah, wow.
That's a great insight.
I'm also like, you can like hear it, like you can hear that. You can hear like that mallet coming down that whatever that chisel is.
Yeah. I love what you just said there about him sort of blending in, you know, tonally even. He really is just kind of meshing with the backdrop, which is so Joseph, right? The quiet man, the steady presence without a single recorded word in Scripture. So he's strong, he's virile, he's a kind of fortress for the family, but he's identified with that wall, that structure, that fortress. He kind of blends right into it quietly. I love that.
Mm.
And yeah, your eye does go right to Mary.
What was
I mean,
the
that's
painting.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bill.
No, just going to say that the composition is always intentional, right? To plop that color to guide your eye right to where, the sort of centerpiece or the jewel of the painting, the artist is going to guide you to it. And take that red contrasted with that pale, creamy sort of white. And even the tonal differences between the baby and the breast of Our Lady, right? Like the skin tones are they're all three of them are kind of radically different from each other. But in the juxtaposition of stuff, you're kind of like your eyes moving around and you're guided. Artists really do that intentionally, right? They're kind of leading you into the mystery.
Yeah. Yeah. And like what kind of draws me right here is just like, it's like brightest spot almost is her breast, as if like the light, like that's this part that's like receiving the greatest, bombardment of light. Like he is the light source who's just like right there washing her out. I also he looks like actual like baby nursing as opposed to a lot of
Yes.
other like medieval depictions of Christ who like even smaller DeVito, nursing. Like, I just don't like that.
It doesn't seem to work. It's like a little old man. Yeah, a little hobbit. But yeah, this is again, this is like it's got a real element of realism to it. You can almost smell the sawdust, you can kind of feel it. Awesome.
Boy, do I love this.
It's a good one. Willy Marten's. Yeah. Well, I'm going to drop in Luci Shaw's poem, Kenosis, now. And, of course, I know you know the etymology of kenosis, Father Pat. What's this conjure up for you? Kenosis, this Greek word.
Yeah. Self-emptying, pouring out, emptying, all of that. You always think of the Philippians hymn, that though he was in the form of God, Jesus did not deem equality with God something to be grasped at. Rather, he emptied himself. Kenosis.
Yeah.
Pouring himself out.
It's a great word. And this painting sort of, iconizes it for us. We can see the great pouring out. So here comes Luci Shaw. I heard Malcolm Guite read this on his YouTube channel. He read this beautiful poem, and I was so struck by it. So here it is. I'm going to read it. In sleep, his infant mouth works in and out. He is so new. His silk skin has not yet been roughed by plane and wooden beam, nor so far has he had to deal with human doubt. He is in a dream of nipple found, of blue-white milk, of curving skin, and pulsing in his ear the inner throb of a warm heart's repeated sound. His only memories float from fluid space. So new, he has not pounded nails, hung a door, broken bread, felt rebuff, bent to the lash, wept for the sad heart of the human race. Okay. Okay. I was so sort of gobsmacked by this when I first heard this poem. It drew me in, and it was so realistic. I'm kind of riffing on this theme of the ordinary. I'm so familiar with it that it just kind of arrested me. And I want you to share your thoughts, Father Pat, but I got to go right to the second stanza, that the realism. This is the infant Christ. The kenosis has happened. The word has become flesh. He is in a dream of nipple found, of blue-white milk, of curving skin. Like, that's when I was like, pause, stop. I need a second. Reflecting on my, seeing each of my children nurse at my wife's breast, and the intimacy, the bond, the beauty, and this idea that like God did that he was in a dream where it was just warm flesh and milk. That was it. Like just the eternal, omnipotent God. That's it. Yeah, I'm going to stop now because it's just so rich, and I want to get your vibes on it.
Yeah, that is. Whew. I think my mind goes. There's a tweet that some Muslim scholar tweeted out during Advent a few years back, where he says, "Imagine God being born. Imagine God soiling himself, needing to taught how to walk." And he ends the tweet by praising Allah, damning Christianity for the lies, right? Like that stanza is the radicality of the heart of the Christian claim that God in his full totality became flesh.
Yeah.
That is, if you if you have not wrestled with that, if you've not been challenged by that, if you've not felt sympathetic to that Muslim scholar's tweet, I don't think you've really wrestled with the incarnation, because like what we're talking about is exactly what it's Luci Shaw?
Luci Shaw.
Her poem is communicating, that God was there just like every other baby at the breast, nursing, being fed. I'm also thinking right now of that incredible scene from, I think it's the second season of the Chosen series, where, spoilers here, Mary is sitting around a campfire with some apostles, and she's relating the Christmas story. She's relating his birth, and the comment that she makes in this show, and I think it's just beautiful, brilliant, imaginative prayer here in this script. She goes, "I couldn't believe he needed me. There he was, and he needed me."
Oh my goodness.
That's the kenosis.
That's it. I couldn't believe that he needed me. That is, and we can't either, right? We can't either. Yeah, I feel like, and I want to step into the other, the third stanza too, but to your point, if you're awake and alert and attentive, you are arrested by this. You can't, it's not like, oh, that's an interesting story. Huh. No, it's like, if this is really real, this is the craziest thing that ever happened in the history of the universe. This touch point right here, baby to breast, this moment, this dependency, vulnerability. If you check your pulse, you might be dead. If this doesn't stop you in your tracks, and just, it's one of those things that, theologians posit the idea that the angels, before the choice was made, were revealed, it was revealed that the word would become flesh. And the angels, this is the salvation or damnation of the angels hinges on this fact. Will you accept this God who will do this? And Lucifer's pride, he wouldn't do it. But the angels, the holy angels, fall down in adoration, like, oh, wow, this makes us love you even more. We cannot believe it. Yes, we will be the servants of this incarnate God. Yeah, there's just, pulsing in his ear, the inner throb of a warm heart's repeated sound. I mean, it takes you, to me, that's also like, that's the depths of prayer. That's contemplative, unitive prayer right there. That's it. It's not stuff. It's not what you're doing or what you're saying or articulating. It's just the pulse. The next line, the third stanza, his only memories float from fluid space. Right, that he's in this amniotic fluid for 9 months, right? He's just sort of, that's all he knew in his humanity, fluid space. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's not as though in the womb he was, solving the deep mysteries of calculus and, like he was just like any other infant in the womb,
That's right.
Goodness gracious. This all reminds me, this is what good art does. It connects to other things, but there's a beautiful song that that Christian band Mercy Me did years ago called Joseph's Lullaby. where
Don't
like
know it.
Joseph is singing Jesus Sleep and he's saying like, oh, what, I'm just blanking on the lyric right now, but it's basically the time has come, we're gonna have to worry about a lot of things, but just for right now, just be my son, go to sleep, you know?
Wow.
Like you're
Wow.
gonna worry about the nails, you're gonna worry about the rebuffs, the cold hearts, the
Yeah.
sting, the lash, all of it. It's coming. But just for now tonight, be my son.
This moment, which again, that's another one of the mysteries, that the eternal now has entered into this stretch of moments, these little minutes, these experiences. And then the last line, wept for the sad heart of the human race. It's another one. Just that, that shortest line in scripture, that Jesus wept when Lazarus died. I guess, this poem hit me just recently. This painting I just stumbled on, and I was reflecting on, bringing this to our audience here at the Way of Wonder, because we're in ordinary time again, right? We've moved from the great glorious Christmas season. We've passed the Epiphany, and it's, back to the green. And sometimes it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, what else is on? When's the next big thing? It's like ordinary time is full of big things, because every little thing is a big thing. And so my takeaway is going to be, my sort of actio is, yeah, hanging a door, broken bread, blue white milk, like, picking up my kids' sneakers, making coffee in the morning, just being very conscious that he did all the very ordinary things. He did all the things. Joseph did all the things. Mary did all the things. And I guess like trying to see the continuum, the thread that connects, Holy Family, my family, every person does all these things, right? Washes, combs hair, ingests food, looks up at stars, sees the same moon. That's another one.
Where I was also just thinking is the kenosis of Joseph. It's not just Jesus the Word who's emptying himself, but like the way that Joseph. Thomas, can we bring the image up again just to see, like Joseph laboring? Like that is a man who is in full kenosis mode.
Yeah.
So much so that we get to see his face. Like it's like it doesn't matter. My role is to be emptied out at the service of my bride and this child that I get to be the virginal father of. There's something of the priestly heart that's just kind of bombarding me in this. I love that his bare back is exposed. I love that. I mean, that's just, such a sign of vulnerability. And this is a man who's laboring, but laboring for the sake of the beloved. And that's like some serious kenosis. That's what's striking me.
Did you just
to be him?
Yeah, kenosis. Yeah, the self-emptying. Yeah, the total pouring out. Just revisiting the image here with Joseph, there's something I'm literally just seeing now, and I guess my eye played a trick on me, but the fact that Joseph is holding that hammer, because it's kind of a murky backdrop, I kind of thought that was a tool hanging on the wall, but Joseph is literally about to throw down that hammer and hit that nail. So now it's taken me on a whole different path, because if we're talking about sort of this moment, he's in a dream of nipple found of blue white milk and curving skin. This is an intimate moment that is a fleeting moment. And in just a second, if this was no longer a still frame but an action, then we would hear the pounding of the nail.
Yeah.
And holy, right? Then we're suddenly jumping from this cradle to the cross. So it's like we're suspended in the second before we hear that all familiar sound of the hammer and the nail and the wood. So it's kind of the suspension of like, don't let this slip by without like stepping into it, because it's moving, it's fleeting.
It reminds me of Fulton Sheen, who talks about how the shadow of the cross is cast all the way back to the crib of the nativity.
Yeah. Whew. You hear people say all the time too, how your kids, life goes by so fast. They're young and then they're old and it's so quick. But yeah, deep breath, pausing. I think that's what's beautiful about our Catholic tradition too, is that we have like the mysteries of the rosary. We pause at all these great mysteries, the joyful, the luminous, the sorrowful, the glorious. We sort of pause every day. When you say your rosary, you're lingering a little bit, as we say, we tarry, we linger in these moments because they're all eternalized in a way.
Yeah.
All right. There it is. The Holy
Which was
Family.
Awesome.
Willy Martens. I thought you'd dig it.
I need to spend more time with that poem.
Woo. Yeah, really good. Luci Shaw, born in London. She's probably 95, I think, right now, and still rocking. So we could put in the show notes, we can also put the link to Malcolm Guite, from England, who's reading Lucy's poem. And that'll get people to go down that hole, which is a great place to be, reading his stuff.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Father Pat. I'm looking forward to your presentation of the next Way of Wonder as we saunter back in next week. And again, anybody tuning in, don't forget to like it, to subscribe to this channel, share this if it's moving you and you want it to move others, share it with people. And we love to read your comments. I've been getting emails and calls and comments, and to everybody who's been tuning in, your stories are blowing us away. Your sharings are blowing us away. And we're really grateful for what's been happening in your hearts when we make this move into wonder. So we'll see you next week.